Welcome to the Podunk Polymath, a podcast dedicated to the sentiments of a secular, sarcastic Southern SJW and skeptic. I'm Lexi Wittenberg, co-host of Scenic City Skeptic and fellow Tennessean. Come on in.
This is episode 43 of the Podunk Polymath podcast. Hope you all had a great weekend. You might notice a little something different about the intro, namely that it wasn't me. That was Lexi from Scenic City Skeptic reading that. I have asked other people to read the intro to mix things up a little bit. Of course, they can plug their own stuff. I in no way am trying to steal the idea from Noah's Farnsworth quote. I would never do such a thing. Of course not. So anyway, yeah, she has a great voice, so definitely go listen to their show. I'm a patron of it, so obviously it's awesome. Well, mostly awesome. It's okay. Anyway, on to the pre-ramble this week. Oh, first of all, I forgot to mention I was on For God's Sake with Matthew O'Neill. I will put a link up for that in the show notes. Make sure you check it out because I'm so clever and awesome. For the pre-ramble, let's get back to that. It concerns Matthew O'Neill. Now, I hesitated to bring this up again since I already spoke about it on my personal Facebook page. And it has gone kind of underground, people have forgotten about it. But I have not forgotten about it because I hold grudge. No, I don't really hold grudges, but this particular thing kind of pissed me off. Let me just say that Matthew O'Neill wrote an article. It was not received well, and it got him a lot of heat from people. One I can understand, but one was supposedly a friend, and he kind of threw him under the bus, and I didn't appreciate it, and I thought it was bullshit because he knew this person for a couple of years at least, and I'm not going to give anybody any publicity by saying who the fuck it is, and I know that sounds like I'm trying to be fucking vague or trying to be, I don't know, vague booking, vague podcasting, I don't know, anyway. It's just because I don't want to look like I'm hashtag shit stirring for fans or whatever by naming the person that you already know if you know anything about me and are friends with me on Facebook. Anyway, so especially if you're in the super secret Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse group, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so yeah, and he actually wrote an article that kind of retracted it back a little bit, a lot of it, and apologizing for what he said and kind of taking it back. It was about the punching Nazis thing, which is, good God, can we just get over that shit already? It's ridiculous. We got so much other fucking shit going on in the world, but you sitting here talking about doing some shit your ass ain't never going to do anyway. I have exactly 3 people I know that would actually do it. I know. Everybody else, motherfucker, you ain't going to punch shit. You run, and I would run. Shit, if I saw some fool, no. Unless I had no choice, and then I'm not going to punch him. Fuck, I'd find a bat or something. Shit, I hurt myself. Besides, it wouldn't do any good. I'm a coward. I'm weak. I'm not a fighter. So anyway, that's beside the point. He made some points that some people didn't like because they thought he was telling people to calm down and, just take it, or I guess, I don't know. They took it to mean one thing when it really, I thought, meant something else. And I know who he is. I know he's a good guy. And that's why he wrote the apology or clarification article, I guess. Which, of course he did, because he's fucking awesome. And that's what the way he is. And anytime anybody does that kind of shit and knows they fucked up or thinks they fucked up, they go back and, apologize for it. They admit they did something wrong and they go back and apologize, which is why I love that motherfucker. He's like my broham, my brokowski. So I admire him a lot for doing that. And I'm a little pissed off about the person who threw him under the bus, not about the person who wrote the article refuting what he said, because he doesn't know him. And he just saw what he wrote, and he got pissed off about it. I got no problem with that. I'm pissed off at the person that knows him and acts like he's going to act like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's going to be oblivious to the fact that he's a good guy, and he just wants to fuck him over. That's just my opinion on the matter. If you want to know more about it, you can be free to email me at polymath@gmail.com or message me on Facebook. And I'll tell you all about it, but I'm not going to give anybody any fucking publicity over it because it's ridiculous. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I've got to say about that. For the palaver this week, I have my good friend Jen from Not Another Atheist podcast. And we're going to be talking about her personal experiences with abortion, but also the history behind it and kind of some of the issues surrounding it. This is the first of a two-parter about abortion. This is going to be about personal experiences and kind of the history. The second one is going to be from the viewpoint of an abortion provider and somebody who has to deal with protesters. And make sure to check. Both of these are important episodes. Well, I think they're all important, but that's neither here nor there. Just listen to these people, and you will see how important it is that this is something that's kept legal and safe. Because if you know anything about the history of abortion, it was really bad back in the day. But you will definitely hear more about that soon. Almost forgot to mention, I got a voicemail from no other than previous guest William and Jessica. They become friends. Isn't that awesome? They met at ReasonCon and then become fast buddies. They left me, well, I don't know if they were drunk yet, but they were probably drinking wine and being bougie. That's the word they use, not mine. So I'm going to play it after this, and it's not particularly enlightening, but it's pretty funny. So stay tuned after this to make sure you listen to see what they say. And it's so awesome. And then, of course, after that, we're going to get to the palaver. Stay tuned.
Hey, guess who?
It's William.
And the other one. Hey, it takes way too long to get to your voicemail line because it rings for a while. And I was getting major phone anxiety in the meanwhile. Also, we're not quite drunk enough yet. So we're going to wait a little bit and we'll try to call back if we remember. In the meanwhile, though, remember to listen to Promoting Secular Feminism.
I'm kind of afraid that this actually isn't the Podunk Polymath voicemail line and it's just leaving a voicemail for some random person.
In which case, please enjoy this moment because we're two of the most awesome people you'll probably never get the opportunity of meeting.
Also, don't forget that I'm actually Trav Mamone according to everybody at ReasonCon except for you.
Yeah. But seriously though, Promoting Secular Feminism and their new segment on Wonder Woman is really good, only because I'm also in it. Yeah, I should do more segments. You should ask your viewers what they want to hear from me on your podcast. It is still going.
Wow.
Yeah, we're sorry. I'm sorry. Bye.
Bye.
Have you heard the Habeas Humor podcast? It's a new legal show with lots of thoughtful analysis.
That must have been like a desert fart of dry excitement.
Famous politicians, or at least people who went to school with them.
And then she says, have you met Barack Obama? And I'm asking, who the heck is Shakalama?
And legal tips. You can still be rapey if your dick doesn't work, the more you know. Disney can't sue me if I don't sing it. HABEASHUMOR.
Welcome to another edition of the Palaver here in the Podunk Polymath podcast. This week I have with me, co-host of Not Another Atheist podcast, and my good friend, Jen. How's it going, Jen?
I'm a good friend now. I'm honored that I got
God,
looked up like that.
we're not going to get
Thank
through
you.
this, are we? Anyway. Yeah, Jen, so this is going to be an unconventional interview because Jen refuses to cooperate properly. So anyway, I have
That's
you
what makes
on.
my show better than yours.
Yeah, okay. That's why I've been 20 shows and I get more ratings. Anyway, so I wanted to have you on. First of all, I want to say this is going to be a two-parter. There's going to be one on personal experiences with abortion. This is what this is about. And then the other one's going to be about providers, the abortion providers, the actual people who run the clinic and stuff. So, yeah, this is going to be what this particular episode is going to be about. So before we get to your personal experience,
Of me being a whore.
Well, anybody can get pregnant.
No, it wasn't anything fucking honorable and no shit. I'll get into it later.
I'm trying to help you out. Okay. Anyway, trying to make you look good. If you want to sabotage...
Oh, honey, I do that on my own.
Are we... Anyway. So, yeah. First of all, let's do a little history of abortion in this country, I guess. Why don't you kind of tell me what you found?
Oh, what do you want? Do you want
I don't know. Just kind of what were things like?
Oh, well, I actually took notes. I actually took notes for your show. I never do that. I didn't even do that for my own show. Oh, let's see here. Way before Roe v. Wade and, shit was legal, roughly 200,000 to 1.2 million abortions were performed per year in the 1950s and 60s. That dropped to about 829,000 in 1967. 30s, we had nearly 2,700 women die, or 1/5, 18% of maternal deaths that year due to botched illegal abortions. Death toll did decline 1,200 by 1940 and just over 300 by 1950, but that was largely because antibiotics had been introduced, which would bring down toxic or, shit like that. That, although, freakishly enough, even though the numbers have gotten lower, went down to 200 by 1965, 17% of all maternal deaths were due to abortion at that point. Poor women being obviously the most disadvantaged, doubled their numbers in deaths, and approximately, 1 in 10 terminated a pregnancy, and 8 in 10, or 77%, self-induced. Only 2% were by physician-assisted. Since we have legalized abortions, the death rate is 0.7 per 100,000 or 0.1 per 100,000 before 8 weeks, if termination has done before 8 weeks. So having access to medication and legal abortions and not being thrown in jail for seeking medical advice greatly reduced the number of deaths. But now, let's get on abortion statistics since Roe v. Wade. We peaked in the 90s. It was 1.6 million in the 1990s. We fell below 1 million in 2013. And in 2013, about 12.5 per 1,000 sought abortions. They're on a rapid decline from 29.3 per 100,000 in the 80s. We are now attributing that access to contraception, IUDs, long-term birth control. But according to Americans United for Life, they feel that those numbers are wrong. And the reason why people aren't seeking abortions as much is because the country as a whole is starting to turn against abortion and see how morally wrong it is to kill unborn babies.
Yeah, because I got statistics to prove that.
Yeah, well, yeah, but, these people live in fucking La La Land.
Yeah.
Sing a happy fucking song about, abortion and it goes away.
Yeah.
And I will have articles from NPR and what was that website called? I always forget that name. Gutter Max, which seems to do the majority of abortion statistics and abortion studies in the United States. Gutter Matcher, I'm sorry. I will be linking.
Oh, Guttermacher? Yeah.
Guttermacher. I don't fucking know. I'm from New York. We say shit all fucked up.
Did you really just pronounce that? Guttermacher? Is that what you really just said?
Gutter Matcher.
It's fucking German. What the fuck? Okay.
Do I look fucking German to you? You're lucky my ass speaks fucking English, all right?
But you can... I don't even know what to say. Anyway, yeah, I've heard that institute is... Mm-hmm. What was I listening to?
They seem to be pretty on their fucking shit about statistics. But I'll link all their shit to you so that we can put it up. And do you want the Americans United for Life page too? And
no, we no.
Come on, at least make your listeners laugh a little bit.
Okay, fine.
Come on.
I wanted to talk about Roe v. Wade itself and what it says.
So let's talk about it. What do you want to talk about?
Do you know when it was decided?
1973 was when they had decided, yes. And oddly enough, the woman behind Roe v. Wade is now an anti-abortion pro-life activist.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah. So what did it say, though? Do you know what it said?
Let me pull it up. That actually is something, because it's a fucking entire case file, so it's like an entire fucking... Because it's not an actual amendment. It was found to be, I think, under the 14th or 15th Amendment. The same thing that fucking tells people they can't get married. That one. That amendment that I can't think of. 14th. It was the 14th Amendment. Okay.
14th. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. 14th Due Process Clause.
The court ruled 7-2 that a right to privacy under Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment extended to a woman's decision to have an abortion. But that this right must be balanced against the state's interest in regulating abortions, protecting women's health, and protecting the potentiality of human life. So kind of, yeah, you can get one, but you can't. Type of shit, which is why we're having such a fucking hard time with this now, because of that clause, the potentiality of human life and states' regulations. This is why we're having such a fucking monumental battle about this shit. The court resolved this balancing test by tying state regulations of abortion to the third trimester of pregnancy. Viability may occur between 23 and 24 weeks. Now, to get into that, I think it was something like 1 or 2% of abortions actually happen that late, and that's normally you get a fetal scan about 21, 22 weeks, and that's when they determine genetic abnormalities, compatibility with life, all that shit. Those abortions reserved for that late, 23, 24, is usually incompatibility with life. It's not, oh my God, I broke up with my boyfriend and I don't want this baby anymore.
I think that's a misconception.
It's a huge misconception. Because, I mean, I had mine, I was like 7 weeks. And it was, the Clumpus L's thing. But, if there was, an actual kicking baby in there would be no fucking way. I could have been like, oh, no, I just don't want the kid anymore.
Yeah, that's not how that works. That's not how any of this works, generally speaking. I don't have the statistics right in front of me.
No, it's like 2%. And it's not, oh, they rip the body parts out. No, it doesn't happen that way. They actually induce labor so that you have to, physically go to a hospital and, give birth.
Yeah, what's it called? Dilation, DNR?
DNC.
DNC, that's it.
Well, no, dilation and cutterage, I can never pronounce that word. That's the after. They actually scrape the uterus to make sure that there's no lining left. There's nothing that's kind of stuck behind so that you don't get a septic infection from it and die. That is done in all abortions. That is done in every... DNCs are usually done for early term abortions. 23, 24 weeks, they give you oxytocin and they induce labor. And you have to give birth to this child.
So basically you're giving birth to...
And if the child shows any signs of viability of life through mechanical means, then they have to, by law, try to save that child. Yeah.
Interesting.
Children have been saved as early as 22 weeks, 21, 22 weeks.
22 weeks? God
yeah.
damn.
I mean, granted, it's extensive hospital stays and extensive artificial means, but
I always find
they keep them hooked up to shit until they're full term, and they can breathe on their own and everything. But those children wind up having severe health problems, severe health complications.
Yeah, I don't understand well, I do understand it, but it's they want them to be born, but once they're born, they don't get
of course, oh my God, you can't kill your unborn baby, but once the kid's here, it's like, I'm sorry that your mommy decides that, she's not going to work hard enough to our standards, so you have to starve.
Yeah, basically.
And that's why I say it's not pro-life, it's pro-birth.
Yeah, basically.
It's fucking pro-birth. I mean, we're arguing about, right to life, yet we're facing a budget cut in the trillions of dollars in education and federal services to help the SNAP program, WIC, HUD, daycare. The fuck, I can never remember the daycare one. But the vouchers they provide for parents to go to work and go to school for reduced daycare costs. That's getting cut too. That shit's getting cut too.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting a little bit. It's relevant, but,
And then we have Betsy DeVos for the Board of Education, and, yeah, it's like, even if you do make it out of the hospital, kid, you're fucked.
Yeah, well, we're all fucked, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so before Roe v. Wade was passed, basically, it was, from what I've read, it was basically, if you were rich, you could find a way for your doctor to do it for you.
No, not necessarily. If you had the money to pay for a private doctor, which it wouldn't be your doctor, you could. Poor women did scrap. A lot of it was whatever. You can travel to different states and find doctors for different prices as well. Or you can go to Mexico and have it done by a physician in Mexico for free too. Or not for free, for low cost too.
Interesting. Okay.
But the more wealthy women could access more local doctors, and travel put them at higher risk for infection and death.
Yeah, I don't know some of the methods. Of course, everybody's heard the coat hanger thing. I don't know how accurate.
Oh, God. There's the saline solution. There's the physical vacuuming ripping. There's the C-section. There's so many.
What? Vacuuming ripping? Is that what you said?
Well, that's when you go now. It's an actual – it's like a DNC – it's like a vacuum. It's just kind of like clearing out the cells in a vacuum that goes into medical waste. But yeah, they would have suction vacuums. The most popular one was definitely the hot water saline douche, and the saline would go into the womb and the child would die, and then you would miscarry. That was the most popular one.
That's great. And of course, like I said, there are methods that were just women trying to do anything they could.
And there were teas and medications you could take, and there's actually a lot of fucking options to self-induce an abortion.
Well, yeah, the history of it goes way back. I mean, there's abortifacients were recorded during the Greek times, and I'm sure,
I was going to say, I think
way
Egyptians,
back.
too. I think Egyptians were documented giving abortions as well.
I'll have to put a link for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's somewhere on the fucking web.
Because it's an interesting, as long as women have had to have children that they didn't want,
Yeah, as long as women could figure out they can miscarry them, there's been abortion.
Yeah. I remember, and this is a little silly, but I remember reading Clan of the Cave Bear or whatever, and they were talking about this shit.
But interestingly enough, they said that back then, it wasn't single mothers and it wasn't women who didn't have children that were the highest numbers. It was actually married couples who couldn't afford or didn't want another child. It was mainly them. It was married women who just couldn't take on another kid. That would actually, they were the main seekers of abortions back then. So, and it's probably roughly the same now.
I would think so. They wouldn't, of course, make it out like it's...
Well, because it's like, when you have your first kid, it's like, oh my God, everything's going to be beautiful, and I'm going to have all this shit, and, I'm going to coupon, and it's going to be lovely. And then 2-3 kids down the line, you're like, fuck this, I'm not doing this shit again. I'm not feeding, fucking clothing, getting up with this little fucking bastard. No.
Yeah, I think a part of it is women are expected to be, like, maternal, and somehow you're less of a woman if you don't have that maternal instinct. Mm-hmm. And, of course, that's society, gender roles, the whole religion gender role thing.
You know how I feel about gender roles, so.
It's fucking everything up, so.
This is fucking everything up.
Yeah. Traditional gender, quote-unquote traditional gender roles. So women aren't, allowed to have agency over their own reproductive system, apparently.
No, and that's what it is. Man, this sounds so fucked up, but up until 25, 24 weeks, this is a fucking parasite living in your body. That's like me going up to a man and being like, okay, you've got a fucking tapeworm, and I'm not going to let you get rid of it because you're providing life for this, and this is a life. So you cannot take the medication and heal yourself from a tapeworm. It's a fucking parasite. It cannot survive outside the host body.
I don't remember who said it, but Gloria Steinem, maybe. If men got pregnant, then abortion would be a sacrament.
Yeah, if men got pregnant, they would be up on every corner like fucking Starbucks, okay? Abortion clinics would be on every fucking corner like Starbucks.
Yeah.
Birth control would be fucking federally funded and free. Every fucking man would have an IUD.
I'm okay with that. They still haven't... They're working on male contraception, but they still haven't perfected it yet.
And this pisses me off, too. It's like... Women have been dealing with hormonal contraception since the 40s and the 50s, and it fucks our bodies up bad. There's a lot of shit that comes with it. Now we're sitting here, let's test a male one, There is a non-hormonal birth control. It's been available in India since the early 90s that the FDA won't fucking touch.
Okay, well, India isn't necessarily the...
I'm not saying it's the pinnacle of, fucking health, but this, it's been around for a while now. It's non-hormonal, it's been proven effective, and it's low cost.
But have any Western countries, really?
No, because Western countries won't touch it because you can't really turn a fucking profit off it.
I'm talking about, like, European countries. Sweden and the Nordic countries would.
They might. I haven't looked into their birth control options.
Scandinavia would definitely, the Scandinavian countries.
I gotta check that out.
That's what I'm saying. Surely, if it's that effective, it's been tested somewhere.
The FDA's been like,
Fuck the FDA. I'm talking about, like... I'm talking about countries not necessarily ruled all by profit, like I said.
You mean the countries I want to move to? Yeah.
It's cold as fuck up there, though.
Yeah, I lived in fucking Watertown, New York. I'm fucking straight, dude. I'm good with that shit.
Okay. Well, whatever you say. Anyway, so yeah, women had to resort to a bunch of questionable is a kind way to put it, I think, for abortion, for, getting rid of an unwanted child. So Roe v. Wade made it legal. Mm-hmm. In 73.
And even when Roe v. Wade was first, it was still hard for a long time because, it was certain states didn't want to touch it because they had the state autonomy thing, and women would still have to travel for just something legal and safe. And that's happening now. They're starting to do that now where they're turning it over to the states, and the states are putting insane regulations on clinics, and they're shutting them down all through, we're going through that with Tennessee now. Tennessee and Texas.
Something I'm going to be talking about on the other one, so.
Yeah.
This one, yeah, I guess the majority of this would be concentrated kind of on your personal experience. So let's kind of get into that a little bit.
You want my story? My story is pretty fucking simple. I was 19. I was dating a guy who now he's a good guy. We were still kind of cool, but he was a total asshole back then. I was drunk. It was my birthday weekend. I had broken up with a guy I was seeing prior to. He was my, in case of dick break glass type of deal. And we were stupid and didn't pull out in time. And surprise! There was no fucking way in hell I was keeping that kid. I knew this was just a bad situation. I paid $600 for a clinic in Forest Hills. I was completely sedated. I woke up feeling not too bad because I was not going to be awake for that. I just don't do that shit. They gave me medication to shrink down my uterus. They gave me medication to make sure I didn't get an infection. I healed for 6 weeks and then I was fine. I have no regrets. I don't think about it. It doesn't cross my mind at all. I was 7 weeks along. And this was before they have to do a sonogram just to make sure you are pregnant and they're not digging up in there for nothing. But I was offered to view the sonogram. I didn't have to. I didn't. But now it's mandatory that you have to. At least here.
In some states.
Here, I think in Tennessee, yeah. In Tennessee, I think it is. I think they made that mandatory. And then it's like a 72-hour waiting period. I literally, made the appointment, walked in, and it was done. I went home. I kind of felt like shit the first day. You cramped really bad for 3 days, and then it was like, okay.
So you didn't have any, emotional...
Nope. I have absolutely... I think it was... I knew, the minute that test came up positive, that I was like, this can't happen, so I kind of detached completely. It almost didn't feel like it was mine, it was just something to... You know what I mean? I didn't feel any... my son is totally different. That was an instant attachment. But that... I really didn't. I have no kind of regret over it either. And that's a big misconception, is that pro-lifers say this shit all the time. Oh, they have post-traumatic stress syndrome from this shit, and they all regret it. No, we don't. We really don't.
Yeah, I would be curious to know what the percentage of women who say that. Of course, I don't know how accurate anything like
There's
that
no, there really isn't a statistic, because it's still kind of really taboo to talk about. So it's not something that's, really studied. They would rather just look at numbers on paper and not have to deal with the personal end of it, which is bullshit, because they're still people. I mean, this is what women seeking abortions don't want to see numbers on paper. They want to hear stories. They want to know it's okay that you don't feel anything towards this child and you don't regret this. Because like you said, it's a maternal thing. Oh my God, you're a fucking monster.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And I honestly think that if it were more socially acceptable, that the rates of people regretting it would go down significantly.
Most likely. Probably. And a lot of the regret that I heard was never, I've killed my baby. And I've heard some women say that, I always kind of wondered what it would, the child would be like. Most of it was I disappointed my family. I disappointed my church. I was outcasted because somebody told and found out that I had, premarital sex and abortion. Holy shit. You're a fucking blazing red whore at that point. But yeah, there are a lot of us that we don't regret it. There is no post-traumatic stress. That's why I'm like, oh, you have post-traumatic... No, I don't. The most traumatic thing about that was waking up from the anesthesia shaking like a mother. And anesthesia makes me cry for some strange apparent reason. That was the worst of it. I literally sat up to orange juice and cookies. I'm not even kidding. I was like, oh, I get cookies. Sweet. There were a few... It was a group recovery area, and there was a few women that were crying. There was a few women I could see did regret it, but fuck, not me.
Well, because you're basically a soulless human being, so that's...
No, I love my kid. When I found out I was pregnant with my kid, it was very different. I was like, oh my God, over the moon, and I was terrified because it was high risk, all the time. But that, no. And him, if something were to have happened over the course of that pregnancy, I would have been devastated. My sons. And I'm not soulless. I give a shit about people. I give a shit about my kid. I give a shit about my mom, my family, the dude. I give a shit about the dude, the boy.
I'm obviously joking. But I am looking right now at a Slate article here talking about study published in the journal Contraception. Now, they're using an established scale device to measure uncertainty around healthcare decisions. I'll have to look up how accurate
That's a really broad fucking topic. Holy shit. Okay.
Researchers from UC San Francisco found that women seeking abortions are at least as confident as women making choices about breast cancer treatments, antidepressant use during pregnancy, and invasive prenatal testing. Of course, the new findings directly challenge narrative that decision-making on abortion is somehow exceptional and it calls into question whether women would universally benefit from restrictions such as waiting periods and mandatory counseling services, which I never thought would. That's just bullshit.
I think the waiting period gives you PTSD. I think that's what gives you fucking PTSD is the fucking 72-hour waiting period.
Well, none of that's because they actually give a fuck. It's just because they're trying to put obstacles in the way.
But, like, think about it. Say you're having a fucking heart surgery or some shit done, right? Fucking heart, lungs, whatever. And the doctor schedules you out for 3 days from now. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to get on fucking WebMD. You're going to get on the fucking Mayo Clinic and look at every fucking complication that could happen ever. Like, oh my God. And then you're going to be convinced you're going to die. What do you think these women are doing? They're finding all these fucking pro-life fucking websites about killing your baby and how it's going to fucking kill you and you'll never have fucking children again and your uterus and your womb is scarred. That's the shit that brings on post-traumatic stress disorder. And then what? You're sitting there with this fucking sonogram with a fucking heartbeat rate staring you in the fucking face. So it's forcing you to attach yourself to this. They're forcing you to attach yourself to this child. No, it's irritating because that's the first thing they look for is the heartbeat. And then, you kind of get the flutters because, I mean, it's fuck. One of my fucking homegirls could get pregnant. I'd be like, oh, how cute a heartbeat. I'd get a little fucking misty over that shit. It's just something we've been programmed to think is fucking warm and joyous and fucking amazing. And sometimes it's just not.
It's a evolutionary imperative to reproduce. I mean, that's not unusual.
No, I get that, but we're beyond the point of making the tribe larger so we can survive. It's, and pink and blue and bottles and breastfeeding and, look at the little blankets. We've been programmed to think this is like some squishy fucking body pillow.
Yeah, but the reptile part of our brain's still there. If you read Carl Sagan, I forgot what he called it, but basically the reptilian brain, the very primal stuff.
Oh God, don't say reptilian brain. You're just gonna fucking throw these people, the fucking conspiracy theorists, into a fucking.
Nobody who would listen to this show who are
you don't know that they might really.
Then they need to stop listening right the fuck now. If you believe that 9/11 was an inside job,
if you believe that I eat people to maintain my human form, please stop fucking listening.
Yeah, go watch V instead. But anyway. Yeah, let me read it says, as it turns out, women seeking abortions are not unusually uncertain at all. They are significantly more sure about their decision, for example, than people facing reconstructive knee surgery. Now, this is based on this conflict scale. It's called the decisional conflict scale. I need to look up to see, how...
That sounds interesting. I'm going to read that later.
accepted this particular method is. That's actually, that's something that would play into it, how accurate it is. Of course, I would think if it's used that much, then I would think.
But that's kind of an unfair comparison. Because usually, like, reconstructive knee surgery is usually reserved for people later in life where they don't have to really think about abortion.
Well, I think it's got more to do with the anxiety caused by the decision, more so than...
Yeah, but think about it. It's, you're in your fucking 60s and 70s. You're kind of going to be worried that you're going to die more on the operating table than some fucking 19-year-old fucking girl is having an abortion.
Well, that's... Of course, you're assuming that only more old people get it, and that's a whole...
I'm saying that when you generally hear about it, it's usually, hip and knee replacement, and that's for older people that are well past their, prime.
Yeah, but I'm saying that you don't know that because anyway.
I'm just saying oh my God, that's why I fucking hate doing this shit with you. I'm just saying in general.
I'm sorry, I'm not Keith and I'm just going kowtow to your ass. Is that what you want me to do?
Did you just say that Keith cow-tongues my ass? Is that what you
Kowtows, go look it up.
Oh, okay. I was like, did you just say cow?
Anyway, according to this scale, slightly more than half of the women in Ralph's survey agreed that the decision was easy. Less than 30% disagreed. Previous research suggests that more than half of women who get an abortion report afterward that the decision was difficult, but almost 9% of the women in the new study agreed with the statement, "I feel sure about what to choose." Unsurprisingly, the women who endorsed more of the myths about abortion's dangers were less certain about their decisions. See, that was something I've already thought anyway.
Well, I want to know, like, what the demographic of these women were. Were they in heavily Christian states where there are pro-life picketers outside the abortion clinics? Like, this is what I want to know. The actual demographics of the women that they interviewed.
Yeah, I would be interested in kind of the parameters and the research methods and all that.
Right, because,
stuff.
I mean, if you, like, say you go to a fucking liberal place like New York or fucking Cali, where there's not picketers outside and it's literally a women's health center, and you walk in and they just give it to you, okay, this is what's going to be done and this is what we're going to do, I guarantee you more than half of those women are going to say it was a good decision and a sure decision and they weren't overly anxious about it with any regret. But if you're already facing a tough decision and then you've got some fucking fat bitch named Patty waving a fucking poster in front of you that's like ripping fucking baby parts apart and fucking painting them with ketchup and shit, yeah, you're going to get fucking anxious about it. You know what I mean?
I think we can talk about that a little bit. The idea that regret is something that is put there by outside sources and
Outside
is not
influences.
necessarily outside influence, and not necessarily something that's innate within the person.
Right.
Because like I said, I'm going to see if I can find some more studies on this sort of thing. But from what I've read, most women don't have any significant regret after an abortion, because usually they go into it because you have to go out of your way, really.
Yeah.
To do it.
Yeah, you have to go out of your way, and this is something that, you don't just show up at your OB's office and be like, hey, rip it out of me, you know what I mean? It's like, you have to find another clinic, and it's not covered by insurance, so you have to get the money together. And when you're plunking down $5,000-$6,000 for it, you better make damn fucking good insurance. This is what you want to do.
Yeah, it's basically like you're saying. I mean, a lot of it's the money factor. I know plenty of women are like, oh my God, I gotta scrape up 500. They're not worried about the part where they get, they get the baby taken out. They're worried, or the fetus, I should say, taken out. It's because they don't have the money to do it.
Right. It's and it's not cheap.
Yeah, and I don't.
And the further along you are, insurance, unless it's like life of the child or mother, they won't cover it.
Yeah.
The further along you are, the more expensive that shit gets, because it's a more complicated procedure at that point. So you're paying anywhere from $5,000 to $5,000, $10,000 for these. And I'm sorry, in this economy, $500 is a lot of fucking money to throw down on something you're literally never going to see ever.
But your ass shouldn't have got pregnant in the first place, so
Oh, I give a shit. I shouldn't have gotten pregnant in the first place. I was drunk on my fucking birthday. Okay.
Yeah, it's your fault.
I was drunk on my birthday. I was heartbroken, and I had my dick in a glass, and it was there, and he was home, and this is why I don't drink and fuck. Because
you had a dick in the what?
Most single women have their in case of emergency, in case of dry spell, break glass stick. That's the one that you call that is gonna fuck you, and you know what I mean.
That's a complicated metaphor, and I wasn't sure where you were going. Okay.
That's the in case of emergency dick.
Okay. I know that, yeah. Their pussy is similar to that. But anyway.
Really? Guys have that?
I wouldn't use that fucking terminology for it. But, yeah, I mean, occasionally. It's a thing, Somebody you know will have sex with you.
I'm going to have a long talk with somebody tonight, because now I'm curious.
Anyway, so moving on. Yes. So I think regret is a myth for the most part. We've established that.
And a lot of the procedures that they fucking scream about, those are fucking myths too.
Yeah, that's something else that, that's...
It's what it is they'll take... There are doctors out there that will do this shit at like 30, 32 weeks. And the way that they do it is extremely barbaric and inhumane. And they'll take these very random cases and say, this is how they're all done, this is what you're doing. Like they'll take scissors and like sever the spinal cord type of shit. And that is so fucking rare. It's so exceptionally fucking rare to find providers like that.
It is extremely rare, but they extrapolate that out to the rest,
Right. And it fuels these fucking pro-birth psychopaths. They're like, oh my God. Like, literally, I have watched them make posters of stillbirth medical waste, and try to pass it off as abortion. And this is like stillbirth to the point that the child was very hard coming out and limbs had come off because of that. Limbs were disconnected because of that, because of breach or whatever. But they're like, oh no, that's what they do in abortions. Or like they've actually taken like those real babies, those fucking babies that look real that people collect, and they'll like stage them like fucking abortions with like fake blood and shit, and then put this shit on posters. And I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me right now.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
And then it's like, all right, we've got a science part to this. The stem cells from aborted fetuses can be used to find cures for many, many things that we're over-medicating. And then they're against this. And I'm like, okay, so fuck me, a clump of cells at 6 weeks. Not fucking viable, not fucking wanted. This kid's gonna wind up, if you do force this mother to have it, this kid's gonna wind up neglected and fucking resented, probably poorly fed with poor education. But no, let's fucking keep this kid in the world and fuck your husband that's got cancer that we could use the fucking stem cells to research. Yeah, because this makes fucking sense.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of issues, and that's putting it mildly.
I'm just like, what?
Yeah, as far as their excuses that they want to use.
And then all the Planned Parenthood videos.
Which were staged, and, that's been proven.
Severely doctored, and now he's going to jail for it.
Yep. So this is, of course, completely anecdotal, but do you have any friends that you've known that have had abortions?
Oh, yeah. More than a handful. More than 2 handfuls, honestly.
Would you say that they are in line with your way of thinking? Or was it kind of a mixed bag?
I can think of 2 that were a little regretful, and I think it was more because the guys that they did get pregnant by, they really wanted a future with, and once they got pregnant, the guy was like, I'm fucking out. So I think it was more that. I think it was more the dream being shattered than anything else. It was kind of like, I'll have a baby with him and he'll stay with me and I'll change him type of shit. I think it was more that was the heartbreak, not so much the actual abortion. Like, they still believe that if they would have kept the child, then they would have been with them. And
oh, Lord. That's the worst reason I ever did.
Yes. No fucking shit, dude. Majority of us are like, fuck no. I need to have my ass back out in the club this weekend, so let's fucking get this shit done. Okay?
Well, that's because you're a whore,
I'm not anymore. I'm very monogamous and very faithful now.
For 5 days. You've been...
No,
anyway.
I've been good. No, I've been good.
Anyway, no, I'm saying you've literally been with somebody for like 2 weeks, and now you're sitting there acting like you've been with this.
It's been a little longer than that. By the time
anyway, that's not the point.
But it doesn't negate the fact that I haven't been good. That I've been good. So fuck you. Doesn't negate the fact that I've been
only
good.
because you had to, because you can't find no dick before that. So don't act like
I could
it was
find dick before that. It was the option of actually pulling my pants down and fucking them was the issue. I could have easily fucked that bartender at Layla's, but didn't. Not the bartender, the bouncer. Not the bartender.
Yes, I remember.
I probably could have fucked the bartender too.
Lord have mercy. Anyway, so what have we learned, Jen? We've learned that abortions were not easily come by back in before Roe v. Wade, and even if you
they were easy to come by, but
they were anything but certain if their efficacy, and I'm sure in a lot of cases the sterility, you could be sterile or.
Well, no, the big issue was bleeding out, because a miscarriage is a major fucking event, and it would be uncontrolled bleeding. That it would either be uncontrolled bleeding or septic infection, septic. That's the word I'm looking for. That would kill them. But mostly, it was bleeding out. It was internal bleeding that would wind up killing them.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking slow way to go.
Yeah. I can't imagine that's pleasant, to say the least. And of course, even after Roe v. Wade, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy for a while until, states started coming around.
Well, yeah, that was part of the problem. It was federally mandated. Of course, that's the reason the states used to, well, you should have let us do it eventually. Do it ourselves.
It's like, it's called the United States of America. Okay, get that fucking Confederate flag out from your fucking ass, and let's participate together. How about that?
Well, that's the argument they always use, of course, states' rights, but, of course, if we had let states' rights go on, there would still be fucking slavery, probably. But anyway, that's a different story.
That's a whole different show. We'll do it another time.
Yeah. But... yeah, so it was mandated by Roe v. Wade. Clinics started popping up in various states. Some states more than others, and some states easier than others, I'm sure. I don't know exactly about the methods used, if they were the same things that were used pre-Roe v. Wade, or if it was something that was developed.
No, it was. Let me actually fucking Google what a DNC is, because I kind of, I've had one done, but it's just not something I really looked into.
I mean, I can't think that the technology would change much.
Well, okay. A DNC is a procedure to remove tissue from inside your uterus. Doctors perform a dilation and cutterage to diagnose and treat certain uterine conditions such as heavy bleeding, or to clear the uterine lining after a miscarriage or abortion. I've had 2 of those done. One was for the abortion, and then one was for another surgery for diagnostic. But that, I mean, if you had a physician before Roe v. Wade, you can do that. But there was no way fucking 90% of the women that were doing it at home would have the fucking tools to do that shit, or the fucking range of motion and view.
Yeah. So, but it was around pre-Roe v. Wade.
DNC was, and it was mainly used for biopsies, and it was still very early on. It was very early on in that technique, but it was mainly used for biopsies, cancers, endometriosis, adenomyosis, polyps, shit like that. Not for abortions.
So it was adapted for that purpose then.
Right. It adapted to the fallback way to provide an abortion. And that's usually used for, I believe it's pre-16 weeks. 16 or 20, maybe. They do it that way. And it's basically when you get pregnant, the fucking shit attaches to your uterus and it implants. It's basically scraping and disconnecting that attachment, which is also known as abruption, which is actually fucking highly dangerous later on in pregnancy. It's basically an abruption. They just separate it from the uterus. And that's normally what a miscarriage is. A miscarriage is literally diagnosed as a spontaneous abortion, and I think it's something like 85 to 90% of miscarriages in the first trimester are due to implantation problems. Most women don't even know they're miscarrying. They think it's just a period.
Yep, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, that God himself is the one who...
That God is the biggest proportional provider that anyone's ever seen.
Yeah. I hate to... No, I don't hate to. The secular is in the title, so... Which basically means I'm an atheist, and I don't, and an anti-theist, even though I don't promote that as much, but... I'm sorry, when you sit there and try to use the argument that your God is somehow cares about if a child is born, and then your God...
I guess only after implantation and perfect, non-chromosomal malformations, like defects and shit like that. Oh yeah, he gives a fuck then. But before that, fuck this kid.
Yeah, anyway, that's a whole other...
That's a whole other fucking topic.
Yeah. I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention RU486, the abortion bill.
There was actually a few girls that were there when I had mine done that were using it. And I actually know one of my friends did use it.
Yeah, what is the deal with it? Is it even legal in this country?
No, it's completely legal. It is completely legal. I don't know. Let me take a look at the actual makeup of it, because I didn't use that. I was afraid that maybe everything wouldn't come out and I would get, a septic infection. I was actually afraid of that.
Yeah, I'm looking at Planned Parenthood.
It's a progesterone blocker. It can end pregnancy that is less than 7 weeks along, 49 days or fewer since the start of the last menstrual period. It can also control high blood sugar in patients with Cushing's syndrome who have type 2 diabetes and have failed surgery or are not candidates for surgery. It's basically a hormone blocker that you need progesterone and a whole bunch of other shit to fucking, have a pregnancy go through, and it blocks the progesterone.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. What you just said there.
Yeah. I had a few girls that were doing it. I actually know somebody that had it done. You take a series of 2 or 3 pills, and it just happens. And then you have to go back for a checkup, and they just have to make sure you're not, everything's out. You know what I mean? So this way there's no line, there's no anything left behind.
Yeah. So
it pretty much does what a DNC does, but medically. It's chemical. And you literally, they check you out, you get the pills at the clinic, and you go home and take them. I mean, you just kind of let it happen.
Yeah. And obviously, as long as you go back, and, if you start bleeding uncontrollably for some reason.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's warning signs, severe fever, chills, bleeding uncontrollably. I think it's filling a pad an hour is something to look out for. Dizzying headaches, clammy skin discoloration. There's a list of, if this shit happens, fucking get to an emergency room, But it's actually a very safe procedure, and more women are opting for that because it can be done in the privacy of their own home, and you don't have to travel home. You don't have to go home after having the procedure done. And it's kind of a more intimate. And like you said, there's still the stigma, so it's not, you're walking out of the abortion clinic and everyone's looking at you like the blazing fucking Scarlet A. You're able to sit at home and have it done and just kind of let it happen naturally at home.
Yeah, it's not natural. Yeah, so, of course, some states try to limit how women can get the pill or whatever, the abortion pill, because it's just, we can't make it easy for women to...
No! Fuck that, we're women! No, we can't be... Nothing can be fucking easy. Oh, we've got equality, better fuck that shit up.
Yeah, it's just... I don't know why this isn't something that's more... I don't know, how much does it give a cost on that?
I believe the RU486 pill is like half the cost of an actual surgical procedure.
So it's about the same?
No, I think it's like half. It's half the cost of, yeah. Oh, prices of drug products in the United States are set by manufacturers, although often around $400, the current cost of the abortion pill can be up to $800. So it's about the same price.
Yeah, I do understand. But they know they can get away with charging that much.
What scares me though is that, like, if you look up RU486 cost, there's like 9,000 buy it cheap online. I'm like, you know what? This is the one fucking medication I really don't want to buy from India. This is the one.
Well, I mean, if you buy it from Canada or something.
Yeah, but you don't know how long it's been sitting in a warehouse. You don't know.
I know. I just
heat and cold, and like this is the one pill you kind of don't want to fuck around with that shit. Yeah,
exactly, and I understand that. I mean, I just don't. I wonder how much the pill actually costs, like to make or to produce or whatever.
Oh, they are never going to reveal that one.
Well, you can extrapolate about how much other countries charge.
Yeah, but I suck at math, so that's just not happening. I'm not doing that right now, no. I'm just not doing it, no.
If other countries charge less, obviously. Not that it would ever, if they care here.
But in the U.S., it's between $400 to $800, which is about the average cost of an abortion, so a surgical abortion.
I gotta think that it's, like everything else, it's cheaper.
But I'm wondering if the price is set that high because of what it's used for.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. So
I didn't have that, so I really don't know.
That might be something I'll look into because
when you interview the providers, they'd probably have more information about it. Because it's what they do.
Yeah, I would think that it's, I don't know, they have socialized medicine. So even though it wouldn't be free, I would think, it probably is subsidized.
Right.
So I'll have to look into that because it's something I'm curious about, just realized. So yeah, I will definitely put that in the show notes as far as I'm going to do that research.
Yeah. I got to send you those pages too.
RU486, how expensive that is in other countries as compared to the U.S., which anything in our country is fucking more expensive anyway.
Capitalism.
I mean, because, we gotta make a profit and that's all that matters, But I gotta think it's cheaper in other countries. It's just one of those, abortion in this country is just so, one of those subjects that's just so...
We're too Christian for it to not be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. Controlling women's reproduction has always been something that's been important to religions. Because when you control reproduction, you control
the followers. You control the wallet. That's what it is. The more kids they have, the less they can give to the church.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that is controversial for that reason. But I think there's a lot of people who I don't think they're necessarily religious per se. It's just kind of the idea that
they're killing a baby.
Yeah, even though it's not viable, even though it can't be called that, it's just like a clump of cells up until a certain point. For some reason, it's just kind of that intuitive feeling that you're killing
Yeah, I'm missing
something.
that shit. I'm obviously a horrible person because I'm just like, fuck it. I totally missed that.
We've established that. So, I mean, I don't think the audience has any preconceptions about your black
I've been
soul.
on your show before. They know that shit.
Yeah, there you go. So, but seriously, I don't know. I think maybe some of it may not be. Some of it may just be evolutionary because we are driven to reproduce.
We are driven to reproduce, but a lot of it is you're supposed to graduate high school and go to college and get married and have children, and you're supposed to want to have children. You're supposed to want to, carry on your name and raise beautiful people to carry on. And it's like, no, fuck that. We have enough people doing this shit right now. We're good. We're fucking good. Stop.
Yeah, I know, but it's just one of those things that it's still there in the back of our mind.
Right.
We can't get rid of that primal stuff. So, I mean, it's always going to be there to some extent. I think it just depends upon your education level.
Education level does have a huge part. It does play a huge part in it. But on the flip side is the higher the education level, the more prepared you would be to raise a child. The more financially stable you'd be, the more, educated you would be. That's the flip side.
But you can make that decision on your own without having to worry about other circumstances getting involved. I mean, like having an unplanned pregnancy. Anyway, if you're educated, of course, it's going to happen sometimes regardless. Your birth control may fail or something like that. That does
Happens way more often than fucking you think. Way more often.
So, I mean, that's definitely something to think about, but it's by no means a frequent occurrence. So, of course, that goes, education could help with a lot of things, but we won't.
And then
get
this
too
leads
far.
into the access to contraception in poorer neighborhoods and sex education in lower income neighborhoods, and it spirals into a fucking ball, is what it is.
Yeah, there was a Colorado, I think it was, made, what was it? They made contraception free for certain women, I think. I can't remember exactly. But they did something, and like the pregnancy rates,
and birth rates dropped drastically.
Plummeted. Yeah, they plummeted. And I need to link that too, because I don't remember. It was something like they gave them free birth control or something, I think it was. Just certain groups, and like I said, it plummeted because, of course, we all know that abstinence education seems to be the norm in red states, which we all know doesn't fucking work. The evidence proves that out. I mean, I heard there was a school in Tennessee, actually, where there was like an outbreak of chlamydia.
That was the entire state of Indiana after Mike Pence defunded Planned fucking Parenthood.
Yeah, I don't know. It's ridiculous. I mean, the ignorance, lack of education is a problem.
Well, that's a problem to a lot more shit than just fucking abortions. And
so, yeah, let's wrap things up. So, what did we learn tonight? We learned that abortion is...
We learned that it's okay if you don't want to be a mother. It's okay.
And that it's kind of a myth, the whole regret thing.
The regret thing is a myth. Yes, abortions do lower death rates. Yes, abortions actually... Just the fucking option to have an abortion seems to lower the fucking amount of abortions that are happening. Who'da thunk? The fucking option alone.
Access to contraception.
Yes, and that's the key right there. Fuck, I wish I could have a fucking 5-year IUD. That would be phenomenal. 10-year IUD? Fuck yes. Put that shit in there and fucking go on my way, take my ass on home. That is fucking glorious right there. That's some glorious shit. You put that shit in me one day, I take some fucking Tylenol, I gotta worry about kids for 10 years? Fucking beautiful. That's beautiful shit.
Yeah, because you're a whore. We already established that. But anyway.
I am a whore for one person, and I am his whore, and he's very happy
Oh my
with that.
God, for like 2 weeks. Don't act like you've been with him forever. Anyway.
It doesn't matter. I'm still the one getting laid and you're not. So is that why you're salty? Oh, okay, I get it now. That's why you salty. All right, I get it.
No, I don't care that much. Anyway, so yes, it's access to contraception, and the regret thing is pretty much a myth. And don't listen to pro-life shit.
Pro-birth. Let's call them what the fuck they are.
Yeah, pro-birth. They are generally propagandistic, and they don't actually care about your kid after the fact, only that they're born. So.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a good little wrap-up.
So, Jen, where can people find you?
Oh, fuck, we're, like, everywhere, man. I'm on Not Another Atheist Podcast. Type that shit in fucking Google. Like, all this shit's gonna come up. Podbean, Stitcher, fuck, there goes the headphones. Google Play, iTunes, like, oh, fucking...
Am I going to have to do this for you, I guess?
I don't know. Keith handles that shit. I just show up.
Not Another Atheist Podcast. Is
I said the name.
Podbean.com?
Podbean. We're in a lot of shit. Podbean's the one I know the most.
That's just your all's main website, I think. Well, he's got the WordPress, which is nototheratheistpodcast.com. Then he's got the Podbean, which is where the actual
Like I said,
are.
we're fucking everywhere. So no, the actual episodes are on the website, too. We're on Facebook. I know we have a Facebook page.
Yes. You're on iTunes, of course, Stitcher.
Yes.
All the usual places you find podcasts.
And we are also going to be doing Secular Saturday. I don't know if you want to plug that.
Shit.
Ah.
I was going to do that in the pre-ramble, too, but while we're here, yeah. Don't forget Secular Saturday is coming up
July 22nd?
I don't remember what day it is.
I think it's the 22nd.
July 22nd. You think or you know?
I think it's the 22nd.
Oh, Jesus. It's coming up. It's in Chattanooga, and our friends are involved. Lexi and Brian from Scenic City Skeptic, who we actually met.
At NanoCon.
Yeah. And that was actually where they got the idea for doing that.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah,
you and I are doing a panel with some other people.
Yes, I know we are going to be there, but the big ones are going to be Bobby and Ashley. I think they're going to be there.
Bobby and Ashley are coming? Awesome.
Yeah, well,
awesome.
They're good friends with them.
Awesome. I'm doing a talk sometime in the fucking morning.
Oh, that's nailed down now?
Yep. Nailed and fucking scheduled and shit. They even got the room.
Good deal.
Fucking flossing.
So, yeah, definitely, I said, like, this episode's actually not going to come out for a while.
Yeah.
But I will be plugging it up, you know.
Are you plugging it religiously, Chris?
What?
Are you plugging it religiously, Chris?
I wasn't going to say that. But apparently you think it's funny. But anyway, yeah.
It's hilarious.
I'll definitely be plugging that. We're going to be there. And we also should mention Pride, which is coming up.
Yes, Pride is coming up. Our lovely friend Carla Coombs is leading the parade. That is June 24th at 10 a.m., I believe.
Yeah. June 24th, which hopefully the episode will be up before.
Public Square Park.
Public Square Park. It's $5 a day, I think, and $10 for the weekend. And plus you can get VIP passes.
Get out of here. I didn't even know that, and I got to check this shit out.
Yeah, it's $5 at the door if you just want a one-day thing.
All right, I got to check that out then.
$10, you can buy them online, I know that. I just looked earlier today. So.
Okay. I'll check that out.
Oh, y'all check it out. So anyway, I want to thank Jen for coming on and talking to me about what is a difficult subject for some, but some people.
But not for whores like me.
Because you have not made it dramatic enough. For some reason, I thought it'd be more somber, but I'm not the one who has to have them, so.
No. Not a lot of shit makes me somber.
Well, no, I mean, but like you said, I mean, regret's not, I mean, I think a lot of people will just be kind of like, meh, you know, some people might be bothered by it, but I think generally the reaction would be after a long period of time.
No.
Unless it's connected to something else, like you said, like a relationship maybe, or something like that, but anyway, so, yeah, thanks, Jen, I really appreciate you coming on.
No problem. You gotta come back on my show, too.
Oh, yeah. That'll be fun.
We gotta do that shit.
All right, Jim, we'll take it easy.
You too.
That'll do it for this episode of the Podunk Polymath Podcast. I want to thank Jen from None Other Atheist Podcast for coming on and talk to me about her experience with abortion and the history behind it, even though she seemed not overly concerned. which, I'm not judging her on that. I just thought it would be more, somber than it actually was, which I learned some shit about myths about abortion during this episode. Thank her for coming on. Of course, if you want to come to the page, thepodunkpolymath.com, check it out, the main page. Of course, if you like the music, go check out ... at cdbaby.com/cd/... I'm on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Google Plus under the Podunk Polymath. Of course, if you want to become part of the Patreon posse on Patreon, for as little as $1 an episode, you can feel the pleasure and the knowledge that you're helping a worthy cause, namely me buying butt plugs. Of course, if you want to call the show, 615-378-POPO 7676, do like William and Jessica did and leave a voicemail of any sort. I finally begged them, and they finally did it after begging them for quite a while. Anybody to do it, and they finally got around to it. So join them in being silly and calling in, and whether it's a serious question or you just acting like you have something wrong with you, that's fine. Just do it. Of course, you can join the Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse Facebook group if you go to facebook.com/group/the_podunk_polymath_podcast_posse. See, that's easy. Of course, if you want to go to the online store, it's zazzle.com/podunk_polymath. Go buy a t-shirt or a mug. It'll make you happy. If you want to check out the sidebar of the page, you'll see that you can follow me on WordPress. Follow me on Twitter. You can see a little box with my tweets in it. You can donate on PayPal, of course, if you'd like. Subscribe on RSS, Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. And there's a button for the Patreon. And you can also see recent posts and recent comments. Again, I want to thank Jen for coming on again. Even though she thought her story wasn't that remarkable, I still admire her for coming on and talking about it, because it's not easy for everybody, even though it's easy for her. And I think it helps other people who may not be so ready to tell their stories. I think it gives them more courage to do so and makes them feel like they're not alone. So, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed it a whole lot, of course, you can contribute to Patreon, but also you can just leave me a review on iTunes. I'm up to 15. I appreciate anything y'all can do in that department. Leave a review, leave a star rating, but I prefer a review just so you can, leave your thoughts. People actually read those damn things, apparently. So, if you feel so inclined, go check it out and leave a review. So, until next time, y'all take it easy now, okay?